Good morning. I'm actually Diana Palumbo. I'm the mother of Samantha Palumbo, and I am going to speak on our Odyssey through her recovery of brain injury. I'd first like to thank Dr. Dimitriadze, Dr. Green, and Dr. Inaba for allowing me this opportunity and thinking our story fitting to share at this esteemed event. And thank you for your interest. Clearly, you're here to expand your knowledge and skill pertaining to the care of the injured and critically ill patient, which reaches to their families. I'm honored and humbled that I may have something to contribute to that end. My husband and I are currently in the process of helping our daughter recover from a traumatic brain injury she suffered just 3 weeks after turning 16 and getting her driver's license almost 4 years ago. It is a story with many struggles and many tears, but it is more a story of survival, with many milestones that have allowed us to celebrate in spite of the greatest pain we've ever known, to be courageous in the face of the greatest fear we've ever felt, and to have hope in our darkest of days because her life was saved. My hope this morning is that some part of our story will inspire you to continue your life's work with strength and conviction that saving a life is the highest achievement one can attain. Captain Sullenberger, that pilot that landed that huge A320 Airbus on the Hudson River, is being hailed a hero for his skillful expertise and calm, focused manner in the face of a crisis. The headlines read, "Miracle on the Hudson," referring to all 155 lives being saved. Some would reserve the words hero and miracle, though, saying that he was just doing his job, that he was well-trained and had years and years of experience. In fact, his sister was quoted in an article saying that miracles happen because everyday things happen year after year after year. And she went on, these people knew what they were supposed to do and they did it. And as a result, nobody lost their life. That's exactly how I see all of you. You are the heroes that make miracles happen every day in the lives of others by doing what you do in your work day after day after day. To be here this morning and see you dedicating yourselves to learning even more about the business of saving lives is a gift that touches me deeply because I know firsthand the reward of that skill and expertise put to work. Samantha was also a gift sent directly from God and delivered on my 28th birthday. The years flew by and she grew into the most extraordinary little being I had ever known. I was simply in awe to be her mother. Little did we know, though, that the gift we would give her for her 16th birthday would contribute to the deepest despair our family has ever experienced. She was in a catastrophic car accident just 3 weeks later on April 8, 2005. Her exciting teenage years skidded to a halt when a wooden log pole from this equestrian split-rail fence came through the windshield, delivering a powerful blow to the left side of her head and face, causing an open skull injury with multiple broken facial bones and severe traumatic brain injury. We were thrust into that group of parents that received the fateful, "There's been an accident" phone call. And if those words weren't bad enough, upon arriving at one of the nation's best trauma centers, we heard, "We've done all we can," and it's grim. By the second day, the medical record would reflect the worst prognosis of all: unlikely to survive and will progress to brain death. She was a vivacious and accomplished young teenager, and her achievements were well documented. In fact, Presidents Bush and President Clinton sent her a letter of commendation when she was only 11 and 14 years old for her high-ranking scores on state standardized tests on a national comparison. A scholar athlete with a dynamic personality, she was active on the varsity cheer squad and a very competitive swimmer on the high school team. She loved to win. At 15, she was crowned Miss California Junior National Teenager for her exceptional academic and leadership skills, as well as her natural poise and beauty on stage. In the summer months, she could be found volunteering at our public library and our church, And she even started her own charitable project she called To Mom with Love, which benefited the children at a shelter for abused women in our area. Samantha was independent, goal-oriented, determined, full of energy and enthusiasm, wit and laughter. She loved life. Never did it occur to us that she might lose it or how it could change when she left the house that Friday evening. I thought I understood these words, and I heard them many times early on. You've got a long road ahead. And I thought, it's spring of her sophomore year. Let's see, she'll miss the cheer banquet and prom. We'll take the summer to recover, and we'll be back in school in September. 5 months. That was my idea of the long road ahead. Was it because I was in denial or didn't understand the seriousness of her injuries? No. I have to tell you, I think it was just impossible for me to fathom something so unbearable. And believe it or not, I had never heard of traumatic brain injury before. The best advice I got came in those first few days, and it was just one word whispered in my ear in Italian, coraggio. Like so many of our brave soldiers in the military today, my brother-in-law had found the courage to overcome the trauma of war in his young days. And as I watched him walk toward the elevator after hugging me goodbye, I knew I too had to reach deep inside and choose courage over fear if I were going to win this battle. The first time I remember my knees actually buckling and feeling like I had to sit down was when we were reviewing the CT scan with the plastic surgeon. He assured me that her face could be restored, and he made me understand that this devastating hole actually gave room for her brain to swell. More times than not, I did remain standing when talking to those doctors. The information they had to give me was so difficult to take, but I also knew from deep inside that I had to choose knowledge over ignorance and become an active part of my daughter's recovery. She was in ICU on the 9th floor of LA County USC Hospital for 4 weeks and underwent 2 huge surgeries, including a left frontal lobectomy. It was there that she lay unconscious and unable to respond to the world around her. It was there that I learned that not all movement was necessarily good. Decerebral and decorticate posturing, nothing to be celebrated. It was there, though, that the extraordinary teams of doctors and nurses never gave up, despite the uncertainty that lay before them. Upon transferring to acute care, a VP shunt had to be placed in order to manage the hydrocephalus that had developed. Another 4 weeks there, even rougher than the first 4, as I heard, "You'll just have to wait and see," more times than I can count. "What does it matter, Mrs. Palumbo?" was actually the answer to one of my questions asking about the specific areas of my daughter's brain that had been injured. And this doctor went on to explain in a very solid, matter-of-fact manner that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being death, my daughter was at a 9.5. And she went on to ask if I had ever heard of diffuse axonal shearing before. I think she was probably thinking that she was helping me to accept the situation by laying it out there like that. But what she didn't know is that I was a mother who felt like I was losing everything except for hope, and I was holding on to that, even if it was only a half of a chance. We pressed on at a subacute facility for the next 6 weeks by surrounding Samantha with extraordinary love and support from an incredible community of family and friends. For the most part, she was medically stable there, and we were trying desperately to wake her up. At about 3 months post, there were some possible moments of purposeful movement, but there were more moments of the doctors and staff looking at my husband and I as if we were just losing it. And in a way we were. Our hopes and our dreams for our little girl were so uncertain at this point. And the education I was getting about brain injury clearly indicated that waking up doesn't always happen. My faith was a beacon, drawing me into constant and pleading prayer. and I drew comfort from the thousands of people that were praying for her also. I'm sure most of you would agree that having a religious practice can be the source of internal strength and perhaps even aid in the healing process sometimes. It did for me, and often was the only light I could see in those days that Samantha lay in that dark place between life and death. What about putting Red Bull in her IV? I only half joked one morning as I was drinking my coffee. We had to do something. And my quest for knowledge continued, desperately searching for neuromeds that would help pull her out of this persistent vegetative state or minimally conscious state. The line was a blur. But I had to learn, and I couldn't be afraid to try new things. Excuse me. I think my ear's just too small. The turning point came when I found a clinical trial studying the ability of amantadine hydrochloride to speed up the recovery of consciousness in individuals with severe brain injury. After communicating with the doctor on the East Coast, I insisted that her doctors give her the same dosages as those in the study. By the third week, we had titrated up to the therapeutic levels, and by the grace of God, her slow, slight movements became more clear that they just might be purposeful. Getting her into acute rehab was likely my greatest accomplishment to that point. She remained inpatient there for 3 months, making slow but steady progress. And like the trauma team on the front lines, the rehab team never gave up. It was there that we met another hero that will live in our hearts forever. And like Captain Sullenberger, he knew what he had to do and had years and years of experience. After 7 long months, we brought Samantha home from the hospital. She had had a grand mal seizure, but was medically stable. No trach, thank God, but still a G-tube in her stomach for nutrition, which she actually had for another 2 years. No use of her right hand and arm, little initiation, and even less facial expression. No vision in her left eye, but some functional vision in her right eye. The long road ahead was actually just beginning and included extensive outpatient and home therapy programs that we still continue to this day. Her auditory comprehension is excellent, but her ability to express herself, especially in speech, is likely what we miss the most. She left a chatty 16-year-old girl, but aphasia and dysarthria have quieted that sweet voice of hers, but not her ability to say, "I love you," which she thankfully does quite frequently. She does have some verbal output and functional gestures that she uses to communicate and express her needs and wants. And all of these modes of communication are the areas that we're seeing the most progress in today, almost 4 years later. She left a beauty queen and came home completely disabled, but we never forgot who she was. And our hearts celebrated as we watched the same sweet spirit and essence of the Samantha we'd always known slowly emerge and return to us. Today she is still that happy, fun-loving, beautiful girl with a strong character that's determined to improve and be the best that she can be. Even with many more hurdles to overcome, she still loves life. And we try to balance the hard work that she has to endure by doing the fun things that we've always enjoyed before, like snow skiing, for example. And even though she now has the aid of adaptive equipment and a ski instructor tethered to her for safety, the thrill of skiing down the mountain with my daughter and her friends is as sweet as it's ever been. Samantha had the courage to go to her senior prom even before her reconstructive surgeries were complete, but she looked gorgeous. And her friends embraced the moment as the prom queen put the crown on Samantha's head. She was given an honorary diploma, but had very much earned enough credits through her fight for life to walk with her friends at her graduation ceremony. 9 surgeries behind us, and only a couple more loom in the not-so-distant future to help her left eyelid open and the globe move more freely again. She is still as beautiful as ever, which proves what I've told her from the time she was a little girl, that true beauty radiates from the inside out. So I'd like to end this morning by encouraging you all to dream the impossible dream with my husband and I and so many other families as we hold on to hope in our journeys of recovery. Christopher Reeve was a strong voice for his cause and took steps necessary to help discover possible new treatments. He wasn't afraid to voice his dream of walking again, no matter how impossible that seemed. And like Martin Luther King before him, declaring before thousands, without embarrassment or apology, his dream for his own 4 children and his vision for all people. I can only imagine how impossible that dream must have seemed at that time. But today, our country is led by the first African-American president in our history, 45 years after that famous dream was revealed, proving to me that nothing's impossible to dream. And without a dream, nothing is possible. I have a dream too. It is for my daughter to not only adjust to these disabilities, but to overcome them. To once again be independent and goal-oriented, choosing for herself the path that she will walk in her life. My dream is for a cure for her and so many others like her. And I have hope, because her life was saved in the first place, and she is still that exceptional girl God created her to be. And now, I'd like to show you the power of a half a chance. Please meet my daughter, Samantha. All the way to the middle. Keep going. Keep going. Thank you. How about coming to your computer? Thank you. Samantha has a few words in her heart that she'd like to express as well. Will you spread your feet apart and get your balance? And you can use the table here. 1 second, I'll put the microphone to you, okay? Okay, do you remember what you were going to say? I appreciate you. Now push your butt. Right up here.
I love and appreciate you.
Thank you all very much, and keep up the incredible work that you all do.